Hey guys, it's Julian from Beneath the Bunk Studios and BeneathTheBunk.com. I hope you're doing wonderfully. Today, we are discussing my top 3 sample libraries for special effects for when you're looking to add that extra bit of snazz to your productions. Let's get into it. Okay, so as you can see here, I have an Ableton session in front of me, and the first instrument that I'm going to be talking about is the Ryzen Hit library from Native Instruments. Now this one is perfect for all your risers, all your impacts, for when you're looking to have some nice transitions from one part to another, and you just need something to make the transition a little bit more impactful. So you have everything in this library from orchestral stuff that sounds like this. And if that's not something you vibe with whatsoever, they have such a large variety of other types of sounds. So let's look at, swooshes, for example. So really relatively simple stuff like that. You also have other kinds of swooshes, like look at all these just in this one category alone. And what you can do is you can print these down to audio and then edit them to your liking. So let's say you didn't like how long that fade was. You could just trim it down and whoosh, it's just like that, no pun intended. And if you go higher up on your keyboard, you can also just trigger the impact and skip the rise altogether. So this is what it sounds like when you do that. So if you're just looking for a noisy high-end impact like that, the only thing I will say is that you don't really get that much control over your sounds within this library. So for example, what you hear is kind of what you get. If you want to adjust the length of the riser, for example, we're on 4 beats right now. If we want to turn that up to 8 beats, say we want a really long riser, we can go even higher than that, all the way up to 32 beats. We can also adjust that by seconds. That'll help us adjust the length of the riser, which is very nice, perfect for customizing it to your song. And then you also have miscellaneous controls here. And then if you go to Master Effects, you have your EQ, saturation, compression, limiting, delay, convolution, reverb. The variety in this thing is really cool. Moving on to the next library, another Native Instruments one, and this one is Thrill. Thrill is very cool for making your own very elaborate transitions or having some really eerie, interesting atmospheres, especially for your horror music, your metal music, your anything that you just want to have an overall eerie vibe. It's very easy to achieve that with this library. So for example, let's look at the atmosphere kind of thing first. So I'm going to adjust this slider down. Think of this slider as kind of an intensity thing. So the higher it is, the louder and more intense the sound is going to be. And the lower it is, the more droney and just overall eerie it's going to feel. So this is what this patch sounds like that I loaded up. There are lots of patches. So even with just a bunch of filtering and reverb on that, you could just have a nice space that really works nicely to add that extra bit of dimension to what you're working on. But let's say we wanted to make a riser out of this, make some sort of transition out of this. We could easily automate this thing upwards as the note is playing to make the volume gradually increase and to make it sound like it's a nice transition. So I'll just give you a quick demonstration of what that would sound like for this patch as an example. You could get a whole bunch more dramatic with it. Like the other one, you could print this down to audio, and then you could edit it to your liking, add your fades to make it more exponential so that it's more dramatic when it finally hits. But I really like using this library for this purpose. I'll play you a couple other patches just so you can get a feel for what this thing is really capable of. So low, it sounds like this if you want it to drone. And then rise. It's really nice. I think it's a great sound, especially even if you wanted to do a really fast one like this. Moving on to heaviosity damage. This one is fantastic. It is not really an effects library per se. That's not what it's intended for, but it does have a great deal of interesting impacts that you can use to your advantage when you want to make some impact sounds. So let's check this out. So as you can hear, great deal of variety here. Not only do you have a great deal of variety with every patch, but you have a lot of control over every patch. There are so many different creative sound shaping tools that you can use within the interface itself, which is a very nice touch. And I enjoy using this one a whole lot. If you also go to damage here, you could see that even if you want to get this just for the impacts, you would be left with a lot of other awesome options for other things. So for example, you got epic organic drums for if you want more orchestral stuff that sounds more human, more actually, you know, like a real drum, not like a ginormous movie kind of thing. So this sounds like a real drum kit, as you can hear. But if you want your, you know, ginormous orchestral drums, like, it's very nice. It's super dynamic. It sounds pretty realistic, especially within the context of a mix where you're kind of putting this in the back and you're not going to hear it super up front anyway. All right, that's all I got for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did or if you didn't, let me know down below. If you have any effects libraries you think I should have talked about in this video, let me know down below, and I would love to check them out and maybe even make a part 2. Talk to you later.